Welcome, gods and goddesses, creators, to All Things Spirituality with yours truly, Maria Palomino, a sacred sanctuary that speaks the unspeakable and lets you in on the secrets of spiritual awakening. Introducing self-discovery, soul awakening tools that helps you remember your soul's true purpose to start manifesting a conscious reality. Every soul is unique, meaning no spiritual path is the same. Feel every conversation and let your mind, body, and soul guide you to what is unique to only you. It is the soul's resonance of remembrance. Now, take a deep breath, drop into your heart, and let us begin, beautiful souls creators. Welcome, gods and goddesses, to All Things Spirituality with yours truly, Maria Palomino. Today, we have a special episode. I'm going to be sharing with you my 3-day experience in solitaire, in confinement, in a dark room on just water fasting for 3 complete days with no light whatsoever, taking away all distractions, all sensations that are coming in. 95% of everything that comes in that creates distraction comes in through our eyes, which is why we go into the darkness. But before we do that, if you're familiar with my podcast, first we drop into our heart to be able to quiet the mind and be able to put the ego aside so we can receive what message and see what truly resonates with us. Is this something that is interesting to me, or is this something that it's calling me, or maybe a seed is being planted for later on? Remember that you are unique souls. Everyone's healing path is different. It's unique. Sometimes you're more into masculine modalities. Sometimes you're more into feminine modalities. Sometimes you need to be more within light type of modalities, or more like dark type of modalities. Remember, it's all one energy. It's all one force. We just see what it is that you need at this moment, which is why we're going to tune in first. So make sure that you take a deep breath. If you can have your feet on the ground or in folded Buddha style, yogi style, close your eyes, gaze on the third eye, right in the middle between your eyebrows, a finger or two higher up. Take a deep breath. And all we're going to do is we're going to sing, we're going to chant Om 3 times. And right here, I have a crystal bowl at 440 hertz, which is the frequency of our heart, to be able to open up to unconditional love, which is what we are. Everything that we do is for love, is to get to know ourselves more. So take a deep breath. And release twice through your mouth. Take another deep breath to chant Om. Take another deep breath. And a last breath, making it the biggest one of the day. Keep your eyes closed. Continue your gaze on your third eye, the eye that looks within. And notice by just taking Just a couple, maybe 3 minutes tops, to just stop, to just go into the darkness and listen to our own vibration, to listen to high frequency sounds. The chatter slows down. We receive more clarity and we connect with our divinity, our God Goddess, all that is, the I am. And slowly start opening your eyes. So soothing, always. I feel like this is always the hardest part for me because I just want to continue and meditate and play with my crystal bowl. Okay, so here we go. My 3 day in solitary dark room on just water fasting retreat. It's called Dark Therapy. This is not new. This has been practiced in Tibetan, Hinduism. I know some tribes in Africa do it. I've heard actually some tribes in Africa do it, and kids are in caves, sometimes have confinement for till they're, I think, 10 or 11 years old. But in the Tibetan Ayurvedic also tradition, it's called Yantik. So I'm going to read it. In Tibet, it is said that the clarity of consciousness is enhanced sevenfold in the dark due to the lack of external stimuli in the dark room. Energies that were formerly repressed in the unconscious comes back to the consciousness layer by layer, which enables their transformation, integration, and healing. Also, more melatonin is produced, an important molecule for healing, thus creating more DMT in the brain, which is known as the spirit molecule that induces psychedelic and mystical experiences. So, this is something that has been around for thousands of years. Tibetan Ayurvedas, the Vedas, it's one of the oldest books with more than 5,000 years of records. And let me start off by explaining how the calling came in, how the seed was planted, where I decided to do it, how I decided to do it, because there were options, my whole process going into day one, day two, day three. How did I feel when I came out right away? What were the results that I saw? And then the integration period, which is key and fundamental. And it was for me, integration was insane. And we're going to wrap it up from there. So 6 months ago, I was in Egypt for the eclipse of July 10th. So I finished in Egypt doing some powerful work with Matthias De Stefano, who maybe a lot of you know. He is the host of a show on Gaia, which is a higher conscious digital platform where you can watch digital content that is just higher consciousness, similar to Netflix, Amazon. If you don't know about it, highly suggest that you check it out. Great information there to help you with your evolvement and answer a lot of questions. What is happening to you? Just another channel, other information such as this podcast. And from there, from Egypt, I went straight to Bali and I was integrating because that eclipse was intense for me, the one on July 10th. And then the later eclipse that we had was the one on December 4th of December 2021. And it literally felt, well, I was integrating from the message that I had received in the pyramids of Egypt. Once we finished our work and we travel all the way up the Nile, going to the temples, doing private ceremonies, and went straight to Bali, more Lemurian land, more love, more feminine, to be able to rest, to just rest. I had been moving so much all of 2021 traveling. I did not spend in one location, especially at my home, no more than 2 months, I think. So in Bali was the longest I've been. So 6 months in Bali. And I had a lot of clarity with the December 4th because it was the closing of the last eclipse. But I noticed the timelines had changed. Things had moved, things had changed. And as soon as I had arrived to Bali in June 10th, around that time, and one of the people that I met, who I call her Mama Bali, Malaika, she had to share with me her experience in the dark room. And the first thought that came to my head, based on my experience, my own prejudgment, was from movies, seeing people that behave bad, that were in a correction facility, they were in jail. And when they misbehave, they'll put them in a dark room. And that was it for them. And they would go crazy because they're in a bad state. So it really felt like this horrible punishment. So as she was telling me that, scenes were running through my mind, and also listening to her experience, what she went through. So I thought, okay, the seed was planted. I didn't have a calling at that point of wanting to do it. And then throughout my 6 month period, maybe I heard of one or two people talk about it, but I would hear people talk about, I'm going to the silent retreat. I'm going to the silent retreat. So I was intrigued because I understand how important it is to just be in silent and go within. But every time they talked about this silent retreat, it wasn't for me, because to me, it's not a true silent retreat. You have the option to talk if you want, you're doing yoga, you're interacting with other people, you're all eating together. So you're being asked to be quiet. However, there's all types of interactions, and all your sensations are completely awakened. So I thought, this is definitely not for me. Like, when I'm looking for, there was an urge for me to want to go inside and more in depth, but that silent retreat wasn't for me. And it wasn't until the end of my stay in Bali, early December, during the eclipse. Actually, that's exactly when I figured out, on December 4th, one of my really good friends was going to the dark retreat. So we were talking about it, her experience, her telling other people how they reacted. And even with her trying to decide, going back for why she's doing it, it was going to be her first time as well, how she was going to do it. And I was supporting. I was like, I've been thinking about it because I was keen about the silent retreat, but it's not what I'm looking for. The dark room is more of what I want, like really going within myself and being with my own thoughts. And as soon as she said, and this is where the where comes in, I thought it was going to be in Ubud, which is the middle of the island of Bali, which is in the jungle where the rice fields are. And it's an energy that's much denser, and it's like a vortex where people that go there, you're doing a lot of healing. So you go in, it takes you in, you're doing some healing, you're feeling some grief, something's coming up, and then you come up for air. And as soon as you're coming up for air and you're integrating, it takes you back in. So it's like constant healing with very little time, I feel like, to like really integrate and go and play if you stay in Ubud. And for everyone is different. Everyone's working on some different things. So there's people that live there, which is fine. And so I thought she was going to go to Ubud, where the energy is much, much denser. But as soon as she said, and I only thought that the silent retreat was in Ubud area or somewhere in the main island of Bali. But when she said that it was going to be in Chininga, which is in Lembongan, which is an island that's also part of Bali, but is away from the mainland, I just knew right away. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it because of the location. Lembongan area, those location, it's Lemurian energy, feminine, energy, matriarchal, really light. And it's loving with purity and so much love. Lembongan is the reason why I stayed in Bali for 6 months, because I was only going to be there for 2 months. So as soon as she said it was going to be in Lembongan, Chininga area, I just knew, I'm like, okay, this is for me. So I called and I booked 10 days out because I was already coming back to the US and now I'm back in Los Angeles. And the days were just perfect. I knew I just wanted 3 days, no more than that. And I only had a window as well of when I could do it. And it was one of the best decisions I've made in my life, because there's nothing like being with yourself and your thoughts, because I'm sure if you're hearing this, and most of us haven't done a dark room retreat, we're thinking, how would it be? How would it be with me just being with my thoughts? What can come up? What could surface? And now I know. And now I know what I've worked through. Now I know what priorities I have. So the where for me was key. I needed that female soothing energy. And it's a beautiful home when you start driving in. It's right on the ocean. So my white sound was the ocean just breaking into the cliff. And underneath, there are some beautiful caves. So I'm basically in majestic tropical island with just enough humidity. And the temperature is nice and warm. I just couldn't think. I'm like, wow, like I can't think of a better location for me. And all the time that I was there, I had no clue if it was day or night. And I can hear the ocean all the time, 24/7. And to me, I'm like mermaid coats, dolphin coats. I mean, I'm even right here in Los Angeles. I can see the ocean from my place. I'm a water baby. So I knew this was for me. And it's light. The energy in Lembongan is so light and pure love. So that's how I decided. And that's how I knew. So it was a synchronicity. Not only that, I was the last person to be in that dark room. That dark room doesn't exist there anymore, just so you know. So that is key. When I was surprised, I'm like, wow, like this was just, the dates just worked out perfectly when I left. And then no one else could get in after that because the people that are running it are moving to another location. So it was exactly what I wanted. What was my intention going into the dark room? For me was going back to the womb. I wanted to go back to my innate self, to the nest, to the incubator of purity. I wanted to go back to me as a light being. We have consciousness the moment that we are conceived. And you're pure light. You're pure light. And you're just inside the womb of your mother. And it's all water and darkness. And you're safe and you're protected. So I wanted to go back to the womb and find my innate self, the true me again. So that was my intention going in. And the people that ran it, I think this is important to know if you're interested in choosing a dark room, their backgrounds are, they both always do separate type of like male, female retreats. Honor is actually starting a retreat tomorrow in Bali with many women. And then her boyfriend partner, his name is Angel, and he's the one that picked me up from the boat and dropped me off. And I thought this is great. And Angel's picking me up and Angel's dropping me off. And here I have Honore, who was very, very kind, very beautiful, checking in on me to make sure if I was okay. Granted, I didn't know when she did check on me or anything because I didn't have the need to. I never put out any types of note or anything. I just stayed in the room. And I never had any requests because I went on a water fast. So everything that I needed was already inside the room. So that brings in the how. How do you want to do it? You can choose. Do you want to do 1, 2, 3 days? Some people do 7, 10, 14 days. So, and this depends on your own experience. I did 3 days. To me, that seemed perfect. Remember, melatonin, which is the chemical that starts producing when it's dark, so it allows you to rest and go to sleep. So at the beginning, the first day or two, you're going to be creating a lot of melatonin because it's dark. So your brain creates melatonin because it's saying, okay, it's time to go to sleep. But then your body's smart and starts saying, okay, maybe we don't need melatonin because it seems like you've already had enough rest. But it's not till like the 7 day that your brain starts creating the DMT and what's also called pinoline, which causes the light shows and all the visions. So it depends how deep you want to go and if you're trying it out. For me, 3 days was enough. So take that into consideration, how long you want to be there, where, who are the facilitators, and then you're looking at meals. Do you want to do, usually all the places are vegan or vegetarian. For me, I decided to do a water fasting because I wanted to lose notion of time. Because if you're eating, then you know what time it is. If it's breakfast, if it's lunch, you can gauge it. And in my short 3 days, I just wanted to completely not know where I am. And Lembongan is, I had done a juice diet there before. And in that island, it's so easy for me to juice diet there. So I knew I could water fast. I've done a couple, just 1 day water fast. So this is the first time doing a 3 day water fast. But I just knew that in that island, I was going to be able to do it. And I did. I was okay with it. 4 days, I don't know. 3 days was just perfect for me. Okay, so let's talk about going now into the dark room. So let me just start off by saying that not just with the dark room, just have you noticed that every time you make a commitment or you say you're going to start a program, an inner child healing, you're going to start a meditation challenge, you're going to start a new job, whatever it may be, the moment that you make that commitment and that you decide, the energy starts moving, the scenario starts taking place. You start meeting the right people, the right connections, because you're attracting that. For me, going into the dark room, having my intention of going in, the scenario started playing out. And for me, it was a lot with family because we had just come out of Thanksgiving and many things were happening. And then just trying to see, where is my role in this? So going in, I kind of knew already what I was dealing with. So all of this came up right before going in. And also I did a masterclass, an inner child masterclass program that you can actually take a look at, that is free. So I was very much in my computer. So I needed some digital detox immediately. So everything was so perfect. So take that into consideration, that everything starts, the right characters start coming along, the right situations, people start telling you things. Even before going in, my sister and the kids had gone to see The Little Mermaid, Disney and Ice, and they send me some of the video shots. And with me, I've always had this connection, but like I said, water, mermaids, and then the singing and the voice, everything's vibration. And this music is powerful, it's healing. I mean, there's a lot of the singers are, they're channeling high frequency. So the music, especially the Ariel singing voice, that kept playing throughout the whole 3 days, all the time. So the scenario was created for me. And it's not the first time that, for me, that specific song comes up. It's come up in other healing sessions as well, because I have a connection with that. So everything's going to be unique for you. And I personally decided to take in a Tibetan bowl and two turning forks. You don't have to take instruments. Maybe a guitar could be a little bit too much because it can be too much of a distraction. But I just pay a little bit more like a sound turning forks just to hear different frequencies. So think about how you want to do it when you do want to go in. For me, that was perfect. So the lady took me in. She showed me the room. Just so you know, at any given point you can get out. It's not like you're confined and you can't get out. At any time you can turn on the light. So I'm the one that closes the room shut, and then there's a candle that's provided. So it gives you the opportunity to do your small ritual, to set your intentions, to do it with purpose. I took some sage and I put in my intentions with the candle right before, you blow out the candle, and then you go dark, and that's where it begins. And for me also, I'm an energy healer, so I also did a lot of visualization and calling in all the guides, calling in all the angels, calling in all the ascended master, calling in our galactic family. And me, like I said, I'm in a vortex and Lembongan, which are Lemurian islands. So I put myself in a divine cosmic Lemurian egg where I'm able to rest, for allowed myself to just rest, and I could see it. And then I did a protection of the whole room and then grounding the room to the core of the earth as well. And as I was expanding the bright light, I've never seen it expand so bright. It's like the sun just like pops. So I knew that this was for me, and I was well protected. Like nothing can get in that wasn't high frequency for me. And as soon as I blew out the candle, some people said that that's when they felt a little bit, fear. For me, I'm like, well, I can still see, like, I don't understand. So I noticed that even from the little remote of the air conditioner, there was some light, or just making sure there's no light, that it was completely dark. So at no given point at any time did I feel any fear at all, because I know my senses are getting more heightened. I can hear better, I can smell better, I can perceive better. So I'm like, wow, I can see better too, because I felt like I could still see even after I can turn on the light. But then I would put my hand in front and no, I couldn't see it. So I was okay from the moment I turned off the candles. For me, I went in deep so quickly. Like I said, the scenario had already taken place before I went in. So a lot had been coming up with family. So I went back, and I'm doing an inner child. I just had finished doing an inner child master class the night before. So, a lot of digging in. So I was tired. The first thing I did is I played the Tibetan bowl. I was singing. I was allowing my voice to just do what it needs to do, allow it to sing, going through the vowels. And when I laid down, I was just running everywhere in my house where I grew up in Peru, and everything that I have lived there and growing up with my grandparents. So it was it was such a quick emotional release for me, just from right away. It was so quickly right away. And even when I was chanting, I do channel. So my hands start moving. I just let things flow. A lot of kitty noises came in, kind of like lion, lioness. So I felt like the Sphinx was there with me, a lot of Sekhmet, a lot of Basset energy coming through, just allowing that and connecting with, Syrian energy. And it was magical. And then finally, as I'm soothing myself, as I'm making myself go to sleep, allowing myself to go to sleep, I just felt like all the angels, all my guides were tucking me in. It was so beautiful to feel this energy and just allowing me to tuck me in and allowing me to rest and just letting myself release of anything that I'm still holding on to. Remember that everything moves in spirals. It's not one straight line. So sometimes you come back and you're seeing the same lessons, you're seeing the same memories, just to let go a little deeper, to remember, because there's still something that's left in you, but you're learning the lesson much deeper, like core into your bones, and then you're changing the story as well because you're accepting it with so much love and you feel grateful for what happened. And maybe I think that's why those stories come back. Maybe there's part of me that hasn't accepted it fully, where I can still shine more love to those old stories. Because remember, the only way that we can change our reality now, here in the present, is by changing our past. Our past exists right now. And how do we change the past? It's changing the perception that we have of the past, changing how we feel about these experiences that we've had with them. Whatever it is you felt, if you felt lonely, if you felt abandoned, whatever it may be, and seeing it from another light, giving it another story, but truly, truly feeling it. Um, and then what happens because of the law of reflection? Then all of a sudden, because you've changed the perception of your past, which lives right now, because there is no time, then you change the reflection of your future. You change your future because you've changed your past. So then that mirror turns back into your present now. So you don't see things as being abandoned, as feeling shame, as feeling lonely or left out, whatever it may be for you. So, first day, I was really tired. I had not slept well. I went in very quickly, quick healing. And for me, I get a lot of the first day was the day that I got the most activations. I thought it would be later on, but just throughout the night, just and when I say activations, like my body is like jumping, like tremors, and I can just feel it, or just like energy moving down my spine, and just allowing that. So a lot of releases, a lot of activations for me, running all over the house in Peru as a little girl. Remember the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, the time with my grandparents, and the angels tucking me in, and just going to sleep in this beautiful illuminating Lemurian egg, just protected by high frequency. It was just beautiful. And then when I woke up the next day, um, I did feel a little bit restless. And then that's when I started thinking, okay, I'm going to journal. I'm going to journal what I dreamt. My dreams the first night I was surprised at, but they were not, because usually I have very visual dreams, very colorful, or I kind of go to like Star Wars, but it wasn't. It was very real, like very normal remembering, but it was dense. But it's okay because that's what needed to be released, that I was still holding on. Like everything is always perfect. But that second day, I tried meditating, and that's when I became so aware of my body. So the second day is body awareness and pain. So much pain. First, it was with my right shoulder. And I tried meditating and I couldn't go, I don't think, for more than 30 minutes. And I had usually have no problem. And then I would try again. And then it was my left shoulder. And then I had fallen actually in that same island a couple months before. And my knee was hurting. I thought, wow, I know it was bothering me, but now I can feel it so much more. I'm like, okay, I think I need to go get an MRI. So you become so aware of your body. It is ridiculous because and it tells you like your body is always talking to you, but we put it aside. We don't pay attention to it because it's so easy, because you're running around. You have to do this, especially if you have kids or a job, whatever, maybe it takes up your time, or you schedule yourself up to do something, but we usually don't give ourselves enough time just to go in. And when we close our eyes and meditate, we're in the darkness. So we do it even in the darkness, it creates even more powerful awareness, and you're turning off all other external stimuli. And that's when not only was the body speaking louder, but my thoughts were speaking louder. All of a sudden, goodness, it was felt like a train wreck. My brain kept playing over and over again, like scenarios with family members, with each one of them. What's my position? Where do I stand? How do they see me? But I mean, throughout the whole 3 days, what I like, what I don't like, and but all of this is coming up. But what I did realize, like, this are priorities. This is really what's going on that's bothering me all the time. But because I have all these distractions, or even it can be a yoga class or whatever other type of class that we say, that it is spiritual, even that could be a distraction because, you're coping with it and you're putting it aside. But now we're actually walking through the fear. The fear is right there. And I can see all the justifications that my brain was making, how it was trying to rationalizing it, how I was making myself be right. And then also me coming in and trying to find like, hey, how do I deal with this in the most compassionate way? And also keeping myself some self-respect and in the most loving, unconditional way. So all the scenarios are running through my head. And then it became so aware of how this is literally eating me from the inside out, how this is creating anger inside of me, how it's literally killing my intestines, how it's really taking a toll on my organs, especially my liver. You can feel it. So like I say, you become so aware of your body and your thoughts and just the loop that can go around. So then I started journaling as well, which I thought is funny. Oh, I didn't bring the pages with me. And I had a system with the journaling because I knew like page 1, page 2, page 3. I would make little dents on the top corners and I'll write the page number on it. And I would put my finger on the side so I knew I was sliding down. So the first 3 days were good. Sorry, first 2 days. And then the last day, I didn't do that well of a job. And of course, I'm in another state by then. And the journaling came, it was so good. And then I was writing everything that was going through. And I was going through this thought about my mom. And I was writing about my mom. And as soon as that was happening, I reached out to get my water. And wow, it was a glass water bottle and it broke when I was releasing all these emotions as well as I was writing about my mom. And my head wanted to go, why didn't the lady give me a plastic cup? She knew I had a glass bottle. She even told me maybe this is not a good idea. And then I had to calm myself down right away and like, just let it go. This is perfect. Something was released and I knew this. So it was also very interesting how quickly you can see, because you're so aware of your mind, of how you can chew on things and as opposed to just letting it flow. So that was actually very easy to let go of, no problem, because I knew energy was being released. So what did I do? Since I didn't have any cup, I was just like a little mouse, like a little guinea pig. I would just literally drink water out of the big plastic bottle, and I would just kind of turn my head down so I can release the water directly into my mouth. So I thought that was cute. But that was okay. I wasn't about to write a little note. So what you can do if you receive food, there's like this little door, this little window. So it's good to put on like eye mask or something, because there's a little light that shines in where you can put little notes if you need anything, or where you can receive your food. But since I was only on a water diet, all that I needed was inside the room. And I didn't want any lights coming in at all to disturb my process. So I didn't bother telling her, bring me a cup or anything. I was okay just drinking straight out of the big water gallon. So I was okay with that. However, I think it was the second day, as I'm moving from the bedroom into the bathroom, I'm feeling the walls. You have to walk very slowly. I accidentally turned on the light for less than half a second. It was very quick. My hand slid, the lights turned on, and I turned it off right away because you don't when you're in the dark too, you kind of like it. You don't want any light. And you know what you're doing, the work that you're doing. So I wanted to share that. So it became very clear in the second day, the beginning of the second day, I was like, okay, let's have some type of routine here. What are we gonna do? Because I was starting to feel restless. So I would play the instrument, which is a Tibetan bowl of the tuning fork. I will sing when I'm going through it. I would meditate, try to meditate, but it was so hard because my body was aching. There was a yoga mat, and that was incredible because your body, especially when you're restless and you're like, how do I make myself tired as well? And just moving, just when you move and you open up your bones and your body, you're moving energy around. That came in so handy. So things that I was doing, I was playing instrument, I was singing, meditating, yoga, stretch, journal, sleep, and shower. That was my routine that I had going on. And on the second day, it was so beautiful. I had another powerful release because you're listening to yourself, and all of a sudden, like, tunes can come in and you start humming and you find your own beat and your own rhythm. And for the first time in my life, I sung to my little girl, and this tune that just kept coming in. It was very simple, but it was so beautiful. And once again, there was this profound, intense, just pure loving release that came through. And, I could see her dance and she was happy. And at one point, especially on the third day, she put her hands, kind of closed them up, and she put her head over and she was on my lap, kind of just resting, like she felt very protected. And that was very humbling because I realized that I've taken my relationship with my inner child to another level as well. And when you have emotional releases, that makes you tired. You get tired. So I went straight to bed and I slept. And I think from there I had this deep, deep sleep. I don't know how many hours I slept, but it was deep. And then I woke up, did some yoga, journal some more. And then I woke up, and I think it was still the same day. And I was writing all the attributes, all the characteristics that I'm looking for in my beloved. And as I'm writing everything down, when I get towards the end of the paper, I see my beloved as an angel with like big angel wings, and he's holding me in his hands, and I'm just sleeping. And it's almost like he's almost like flying. And then so I'm resting. I've surrendered to him, and I see like the big words that come in that says rest. And I said, okay, so I didn't think I was sleepy, but I saw the words that said rest after I wrote everything down and having the vision. So I went to sleep. And once again, I went deep. And then even after that, when I woke up, there's a little bit of restlessness that's coming along. I can't meditate. I try to meditate, and all of a sudden, from the right shoulder, now the left shoulder is hurting, but not just my shoulder. Like if I had wings, like the whole wing area was hurting so much body ache. So I'm like, okay, I started with the masculine side. Now I'm working with the feminine side. But these pains are not new. This is something that I personally I've been having these pains now for years as well, but they came up to the surface so strong. And then after I came out, I didn't have it anymore. And then I realized that because what I was working on with was a lot of Pleiadian work, working with the star mothers, and it's more about going into beautiful chambers and allowing them to just do their work, and you rest, for me to rest. And that's when I got the message. I'm not supposed to be meditating, because even that, it's active. I mean, with meditation, it can be active, like just rest. Like I didn't realize how much rest I needed, how it's hard for me to rest sometimes. And that's when I got the message. I'm like, dumb. I'm like, hello, of course, this is what I came here for. Going to chambers and, allow the energy, the cosmic force to do its work. And, here I am trying to meditate. It's like, no, I'm supposed to be laying down. And that was key. Um, I didn't realize how important it is to, or how I myself needed to rest. And I feel like I rest plenty compared to other people. But everyone is different. And what happened at the second date also was, remember, I'm water fasting. So I'm also releasing cells that no longer serve me, that have served their purpose already. So I was thinking about all the food I'm going to eat when I get out of there, when I go back to Los Angeles. And when I kept smelling and craving was bread and butter. Growing up in Peru, you get French bread, like daily fresh bread. So in the morning, it's like freshly baked bread. And in the evening, it's freshly baked, always freshly baked, and it's French bread. And obviously, the butter was delicious, not compared to the butter that you just get here at the market. And that's what I was craving. So I realized like all these cells of, all those memories were also being released, the ones that don't serve a purpose anymore. And I even thought about, okay, in LA, I know exactly where I can get the best butter, what restaurant, where I'm going to go to. So a lot of that was coming out. So it's just beautiful because it was also a deep physical detox that was happening. So complete rewiring, new cells are being grown to allow for a new consciousness to come in. Literally, when a cup is already full, you try to put in new water, it's just spilling all over because you haven't made space for it. So here we are, we're making space physically, emotionally, mentally, as we're releasing in the darkness. Another thing that happened on the second day that was interesting, besides the body aches, was I was combing my hair. And that's something else that I want to bring up. It's how much we take for granted the simple pleasures, how we can't seem to just do one thing at once anymore. We are, even us that are very studious, right? Even when we take a walk, we're listening to an audio, we're multitasking. I mean, that's me guilty. When I go and do my long walks, I'm listening to something, to some podcast or it's something, instead of just literally just nothing, just enjoying nature and just being. So just the pleasure of being present. So really reminded me how I'm not present most of the time. Because to be present, you're not doing anything else. You're just 100% giving your attention to one thing. And that seems to be hard. I had never, ever been without my phone for more than 24 hours. So part of the program is I left my phone out with the family in the main house. And it was the best thing I could have done. Truthfully, the best thing I could have done. So just being present is so important. Just the pleasure of brushing my hair. And even there, I'm singing, you start being with yourself when you're just doing one thing and just really focusing on whatever it is you're doing. So as I'm brushing my hair, I don't know what it was, but that feeling you get around your jaw and inside your mouth, sometimes when you haven't eaten and you take a bite of something and there's this sensation that's kind of painful and you can't move your jaw. So the similar type of sensation happened, but it run from like my lower eyes to the middle of my eye. So something happened with my eye, not all the way up to my eyes, like to the middle of my eye. So I found, I had to stop and I couldn't move and it got watery, but once again, all the way only up to half my eyeballs. So some type of eye coordination, activation happened there as well. And that happened in the second day. I remember that. So I thought that was interesting. And just my thoughts became very, very, very loud. And though, so that was basically from what I remember from the second day. So now I think it's the third day. And even as I'm journaling, I say, I think it's the third day today. And I got woken up where the lady said she was going to knock to let me know it was done. It felt like the middle of the night to me. Who knows? But it was loud and clear, like one, two, three, maybe four knocks that woke me up. So I respond. I mean, I asked. I'm like, Juan Ray, is that you? Is that you? Hello. No one responded back to me. So it felt like purposely I was being asked to wake up. I was really deeply asleep. I had to for some reason. So then I went to go take a shower because I didn't know, because at that point it would have been too soon, because I still wanted to meditate. I still wanted to sing more. There were things I wanted to do. So that completely threw me off. Where did that not come from? I have no clue. That's okay. So I went and took a shower, just in case if it was the time. I did a little bit of workout, stretching. I meditated and sung. And then, after 30 minutes, an hour, then I realized this was a false call. So I just continued doing my regular routine. And there were some visions, because when I got out, I told my friends I didn't really have visions. But then as I was talking to them, they're like, okay, you did. And maybe I just don't recognize them because I'm so used to them. But there was a scene twice I went to Machu Picchu, but I wasn't seeing Machu Picchu. And this wasn't in a dream. This is just me closing my eyes and laying down, or when I'm meditating or playing my singing bowl and just with my eyes closed. But I'm in the mountain in front of Machu Picchu, which is called Huayna Picchu, but I'm on the side of the mountain, and it's like I'm flying all the way down in the middle of the mountain. I remember coming close to the river and then going all the way deep down into the earth and going into the core. And I felt like I was like grounding myself. And then it happened again, but it had a different feel to it. So twice it took me to Machu Picchu. And then there was this one scene, and this was before going to sleep, where I was flying. And this is the one thing that I loved when I was younger, when I could just fly and I can take myself anywhere in the world. I didn't realize that not everyone is able to do that. And you can do that now too, where you can just fly. It's usually in that state before you go to sleep. But usually when I do fly, I fly forward. But this time I was looking back. So I was flying, but then all of a sudden, like I'm in the back of a plane, like a military cargo plane. So it's a very open back. And so I'm starting to fly, but I notice it's me that is taking the plane with me. And then I know, I'm taking it to different like forests and different lands. And it was just so beautiful, because the flying sensation, oh my God, that's one of my best things to do when I'm in that dream state. So that was good. And then there was another scene where I saw my little girl and she was dancing and she was happy. And all of a sudden I went in closer, 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 and I saw her. And then I saw in her heart that there was a wound. So like literally, like there was like a knife that had gone through and he was bleeding. And then I saw that my heart, as me, as the human being that I am now, that's older, got together with her heart, like my wound with her wound. And it just created this beautiful light. So I wasn't expecting that. So that happened as well. And then there was another scenario where like my grandpa came in, and I can feel his energy in my eyes, in my hands. And given of what I had created going inside this room, when I'm in this beautiful Lemurian bubble where only high frequency energy comes in, I knew it was his highest self, his highest form. And I felt like he was also asking for guidance and for help at the same time. So I asked him to go look for another aunt that we know, that I know she has already ascended to higher realms. So it was beautiful. And then I asked him for some other things as well. So that was some beautiful energy that came in that was very clear, but also for me to stand my ground. Reverence to the ancestors, yes. Honor them, yes. But remember, you are the one that now, the tree is not that you're down and they're higher up where they're still running the show. It's the other way around. You're on the top of this tree and they are your root. So it's up to you. You're the one that's changing everything. So what reality do you want to break? Do you want to bring in? If our ancestors, who have yet to go to those higher realms, sometimes they come back and they feel like they're still in this plane and they still want things to be done the way they would have been done before. This is old energy. So, and this is where discernment comes in, clarity. This is what the dark room brings in for me too. A lot more clarity, a lot more discernment. So I was able to have a much clearer conversation with grandpa as well. I had been doing a lot of ancestral work myself. So that was incredible. That came out also from the third day. Flying backwards, Machu Picchu twice, Egypt and Glastonbury, everywhere I go, it's always there for me. That's great. Just realizing, and throughout this whole time, the song of the Little Mermaid's also there, especially when I'm singing, when I'm meditating towards the end, it comes through. But then the day for the third day just kept getting longer because I had that false call and I didn't know what's going on. I'm like, I think it's already the third day. And I was starting to not necessarily get hungry. The second day I felt hungry. Then the third day I kind of knew it would die down. But I did feel, because I'm a Pitta dosha, meaning I have a lot of fire buildup already um, in my body, in my digestive tract. So I did feel like acidity was coming up. So I kind of felt like I wanted to throw up. So I was like, okay, I'm ready to get out. I'm starting to feel restless. And then finally, when I was taking a shower, I felt that someone had knocked. And then I came out and nothing yet. I didn't hear anything. I'm like, is this a second false call? What's going on? And then 30 minutes later, the lady came back and it wasn't a false call. So, and all this time, like my thoughts were running through, a lot with family. What's my role? I'm journaling, but I was ready to go out. So, what was my experience when I came out? Personally, I felt great. I was ready. I had energy and I had scheduled for my fresh juices to be dropped off at the location with this beautiful lady, this Balinese woman who makes it with so much love. And they're my favorite juices in the world. So that was waiting for me. And it was around 4 p.m. that I came out, 4:30 p.m. on a Saturday. And it was bright, but it wasn't too bright, but it was bright. And the ocean's there. Of course, you can continue hearing the water. And it didn't, I started letting the light come in slowly, little by little. So I didn't just like come out and say, here I am. So my eyelids could adjust to it first and then my eyes. So I was okay with it. I was energized and the lady was very helpful. My juices were ready and, schedule everything so I can decide if I wanted to stay. I mean, as soon as I got out, I went into the ocean to the other side of the island and I went swimming. And I was okay. Then my friend came up and met up with me who had been at the same retreat a few days earlier. For her, when she got out, she also did 3 days. She needed to be alone for a couple of days. She just needed to be alone. And I was fine. Like I said, everyone is very, very different. And then I had dinner with her. It was my last time in the island. I was really leaving to go to the US in 2 days. And it's full moon. The full moon is coming up next day. It's very interesting. As soon as I said goodbye to her after we had dinner and I had gone swimming before, things started coming up, insecurities started coming up. And then everything that had played out in my head started having a complete different meaning. So then I realized that for me, given the energies of the planet, what's happening, the way it had played out is that all this repressed memory, all these priorities that I do have that live within me had come up for me to let go with this full moon and Gemini, which is where you're working with that duality, right? Masculine, feminine, day and night, love, um, angry. So just kind of bringing it into balance. So even all the rationalization that I had given to it, the justifications of what role I play in life and everything, like all of that got literally thrown in the trash with the full moon. It was so intense. Last year in 2020, we're still in 2021 as we're recording this, it's December 27th, actually. A lot of my full moons, a lot would come up, like it would shake me off and insecurity would come up. But I haven't really had that in 2020, except for the day of the eclipse on the June 10th when I was in Egypt. And it was intense to the point where it's just like I said, I work a lot with cosmic energy, with the Pleiadians, with the star mothers. So I was looking for I want to talk to someone with the Dolphin Star Temple. That's what I was going to. And I was just I didn't think there would be anyone in Indonesia, even in Bali, that's part of the Dolphin Star Temple. And wait, there's one person. Where are they? In the same town, only minutes away from where I was staying. I couldn't believe it. So it brought me to this beautiful star brother, beautiful synchronicity where I continue to rest. I had a whole 4 hour actual body work healing with him as well. So then that's why I'm saying integration is key. Even like when people go through an ayahuasca journey, you see so much, you rationalize in a certain ways. I'm still integrating things that I've learned and things that I've been told, like, a year later, 2 years later, even from ayahuasca journey. So integration is key. So it's so intense what comes up in the dark room. Let it breathe, especially for me coming out of the full moon. It shook me off, but everything was perfect. There were so many synchronicities, and it's exactly what I needed for me to just surrender and throw away whatever justification, rationalization I had made and literally just flow and let it be. Because we're all have a little bit of, we try to control situations, try to control people, and we don't even see it. We don't even realize. So every time we're learning it a little bit deeper, like literally in our bones, because as you continue this, like you're hearing the same message, but we're still not quite there. Everything comes down to unconditional love. So, what did I get out of this 3 day completely being isolated with just water diet? The digital detox was so real for me because I was very much in my computer. I went into the darkroom on December 15. Today is the first day, December 27th, to 12 days later, that I've had actually opened up my laptop. So, and I've had to do that. And that to me was key. Um, so making sure that I'm creating a healthier schedule with my laptop, especially because usually when I go into my laptop and I'm doing like intensive work, it's like I don't need to do that. It takes too much energy out. So delegating for me, there's certain things where I need to delegate. That's just going to be the best thing for me to do. Can I do stuff? Yes. Do I like doing it? Yes. There's some that I do, but then I get obsessed about it and then time runs by. And then what I really got out of it on the results is the programming. The programming that we put ourselves into. So, really being aware of what I'm consuming to a much higher extent. I mean, even being more aware, and I feel like I'm so aware of it, but even more so, I'm even more sensitive with sounds now and even noise. So, because I can tell, because whatever was happening in my outside world that I was consuming before I went into the dark room, that that's what was being vivid in my that was living inside of me, because that's what I was consuming. So that came to light very clear. And I did watch a movie before going in, which was, I felt it was okay, but at the end they showed a picture of the actual character. And I remember when I looked in the eyes of the character, I saw so much darkness. And I remember that coming into the dark room. And I mean, I'm very well trained in just like watching and staring, but in feeling, not necessarily feeling. Okay, if there was one time I felt fears when that image came in, and but I was just staring at it, and then also recognizing that if I'm seeing that, maybe there's something inside of me that relates to that. We're always playing the victim card or poor me, but sometimes we are the ones, or many of the times when we don't see it, we are the ones that are the aggressors. We are the ones that are creating this realities. Like everything starts with ourselves. Like, how are we treating our inner child? How are we treating ourselves? How are we speaking to ourselves? Right. So there is this darkness inside of us too, and it's bringing it into balance and listening to it if it's coming up, because it wants to speak to you and it wants love. So that is just key. Like that, if one of the biggest things is A, being more present, and two, even being even more aware of everything that I'm consuming, everything that I'm bringing into all my sensations, and just being here and the now, just continue enjoying and giving myself the time to just brush my hair, maybe sing while I'm brushing my hair, just like the Little Mermaid. I know it sounds ridiculous to some of you, but we all have something that we can tune in to bring in your inner child. Just being present, that's going to be so key. So integration was key. I was never scared. The program became very, very obvious to me. Obviously, the programming that I had from like being a child, but then even the ones that's very recent, like I said, from everything that you watch, from what you hear. And for me, will I do this again? Yes, without a doubt. I want to do it. Just if you go do it for the simple reason of just having a digital detox, that's going to do you wonders. Even if it's a day or two, just having no distractions and just being with yourself, that's self-love, that's self-care, that's honoring you. Like you're tapping into you. Like I said, I never, all of a sudden I'm creating a melody, I'm singing to my little girl, like words are coming in because you're communicating with yourself, and you start seeing how the love starts expanding. So definitely I want to do this at least once a year. So after, like I said, integration is key. After I got out of the dark room, full moon hit, and it shook me off completely because all these fears, all these insecurities come up. Like this, the scenarios being played exactly for me. And then I find this beautiful star brother that does body work with a lot of energetic healing, using the same templates that I use as well, very well aligned. And what became very clear for me, so I feel like it continues, the healing is continuing, is that a lot of the fear for me was feeling more rejected, being thrown out, being kicked out, being banned. Wasn't that I'm living and that I lived in this life, but it was also something that I'm carrying from when for my life back in Egypt 12,000 years ago, where when the Atlantean age was coming to an end, when the network had to be destroyed because the Virgo era had already ended, which was continued to be a matriarchal society, a matriarchal community, and the Leo era came in. And since people weren't aligned, it wasn't a Leo energy that was balanced. It was a Leo energy that was in the ego. That was all about me, selfish in the wrong way, which is the beginning, the birth of our patriarchal society, which we still live in today. And as many of you know, we just left the Pisces age and we just started the Aquarius age in 2012. So we're just at the beginning of it. And this Virgo to Leo area, which was the fall of the Atlantean, we're exactly at the halfway point right now. So it was a big realization that this fear of how I had interpreted from that lifetime, my emotions, which are nothing more than chemical reactions where I felt rejected, kicked out, bound, are coming up to be transmuted into self-love. It was so beautiful to see this and how I'm letting go, because our souls come in, and a lot of our souls, they're coming in so we can heal it in this lifetime. It has its own history. It has its own records. It has its own codes. And, many of us have lived through a lot of traumatic moments. And then they get repeated on this life to have that opportunity to give it love, to understanding it. So to me, that was the cherry on top of already a beautiful 3-day retreat in the dark on just water fasting. Just realizing that all that we're leaving is just an interpretation, that it all is the reality, that we're light beings, that we're the creator of all. And for me, there's nothing to be rejected. There's nothing where I can be kicked out of. There's nothing that I can be abandoned from, because all is me. It was just an interpretation of that lifetime, because I can't be rejected or kicked out or abandoned from something that is where everything is me and everything I'm creating it, because I'm on the God, goddess. And that was a beautiful realization. And every time there's more healing, there's more clarity. And this is just the beauty and the present that had come in from being in the dark room as well. So teaching me how to love myself in a more unconditional way, that has been the biggest take out of being in the dark room. I highly recommend it to anyone. If you have any questions about it, let me know. The lady that I did the couple that I did the retreat with, like I said, the retreat in this specific island in Bali no longer exists. They may open another one back in that same area in maybe in half a year or so. More than happy to give you their contact. But I'm here to answer any questions. I love you all. Continue shining your light. See how this resonates with you. Just sharing my experience. Everyone's different. Everyone goes into the dark room and everyone has completely different experiences based on their unique code, because all of our souls have a very unique history. Love you all. Take care. Light and love. Bye. Thank you, beautiful souls, for listening. Visit my website and subscribe to our monthly newsletter to be updated on the latest healing programs we have available, such as self-love, inner child healing, energy healing sessions, and one-on-one coaching. Plus, starting March 2022, I will be a CAP certified facilitator. That is CAP for Kundalini Activation Process, and we'll be having activating virtual sessions as well as retreats around the world. So don't miss out and be the first to find out to secure your spot, since they will fill out quickly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive your latest dose of heart opening medicine. Light and love.